What's up, leaders? Scott Matthew here from the Student Leadership Podcast, and I am so excited for today's interview. We are going to be having a great conversation with Karinne Mitchell. So let me tell you about Karinne. Karinne is from the West Palm, Florida area in the sunny beaches. Kind of wish I was there right now. But she is currently serving as the state president for Florida FCCLA. Okay, and so Florida FCCLA, they have over 10,000 members. That's a lot of high school students to be involved with and to have to try and serve all over the state of Florida. And so she gets to lead her team. She's a second-year officer, and she's been in the FCCLA for 6 years, which is awesome. And so getting involved, and she actually talks about this in the interview. I just finished recording it. And so I'm excited for you to be able to learn from her. She's just going into her senior year of high school, and then we'll head off to whatever the next steps to accomplish her and move closer to her goal of being a film director and producer. So I'm really excited for that one day. So tune into today's episode. Again, feel free, please, to share this episode with someone. Help spread the word, help this reach more students to help them know that yes, you can do more than you think you can right now as a student. You can take advantage of the opportunities. You can nix your limits. You can be able to achieve your goals today. You don't have to wait until you graduate, until you get your job, until, right? So go share this episode with somebody. If this episode gives you any kind of value, please reach out, let us know, share a review, comment on a post. Let us know that we can keep this going. So thank you for tuning in. But without further ado, let's jump into the episode. What's up, leaders? Scott Matthew here from the Student Leadership Podcast, and I'm excited for another episode. And we are back with none other than Karinne Mitchell. Karinne, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. How are you? What's been new with you?
I'm doing really good. Thank you so much for having me. So I guess just a little bit, like if you don't necessarily know who I am, obviously a little intro beforehand, but I am the Florida FCCLA state president, and FCCLA is a nationwide leadership organization that has over 183,000 students across the nation and is completely student-led. So obviously some adults in charge, but it's student leadership. And as this podcast focuses on, we as the students are kind of in charge and kind of steer the boat as far as the things that we do. So with that, obviously, are always going to be challenges and struggles with student leadership. And I think especially in the circumstances that we're in right now, those challenges may be even more prevalent for a lot of leadership organizations and things like that. So things are definitely going a little bit interestingly right now. We have a lot of different crazy things going on, both COVID related and then within our association itself. But in general, school starting soon. I'm doing not so bad. I'm doing okay.
Well, awesome. Good to hear. And we hope everybody out there, no matter what it's looking like for you right now in terms of school and anything else you got going on, that hopefully you can feel a little bit confident in knowing what's coming and how to approach it and just being able to figure out the time that we're in right now. But Karinne, this is awesome. I'm really excited to talk to you and learn a little bit more. So state officer, a state president with Florida FCCLA, which is awesome. Tell us a little bit more about Florida FCCLA. Like how many members are there? What's it like there?
So in Florida FCCLA alone, we have over 10,000 members, which is a large number considering last year's membership was in the 2,000s. So in the past year, we have jumped 8,000 members. And so that's been a crazy adjustment. I, as a state president, how we do it in Florida is you're elected as the state president-elect and then automatically become the state president the next year. So I got the opportunity to learn from the past state president and serve on the state council. So I was part of that state council and kind of learned how we were able to achieve that growth in membership. Obviously, we didn't get to see the necessary follow through of that because we weren't able to have our state leadership conference and a lot of those different things. But with Florida FCCLA itself, there's essentially all the different individual chapters of the schools that do their own service projects and leadership opportunities. And then there are competitive events that you compete in. You have a district meeting, your competitions, and then there's the state leadership conference, which is 4 days that all the 7 state officers that we have run for 700 plus people that all come, and we put on different sessions, compete, leadership opportunities to then hopefully move on to the national level in the summer, which is just thousands of students all gathering together from across the country. So overall, there's kind of opportunities at all the different levels, which I really appreciate for people who don't necessarily want to go further and further, but still get to participate in things at the individual chapter level, which I think is cool.
Definitely. Thanks for that context. Yeah, FCCLA is one of the great many career technical student organizations across the country. And so if any of that sounds interesting to you, make sure you check that out if there's an FCCLA at your school. But Karinne, tell me a little bit more. Okay, why? Why did you get involved as why'd you want to be a state officer? Like what about you said, you know what, that's what I want to do?
So I would say I'm very much the personality type to be a leader. All my friends kind of joke that, Karinne, you're never just in a club, you're always leading the club, you're always running the club. And I think that can be taken as not a compliment, but I choose to take it as a compliment. So I'm kind of always in that, how can I better myself within this? How can I better the people in the club? And so I joined FCCLA back in 7th grade, just as an effort to try to make friends. I had recently moved to that school. I moved a ton, so I was always used to trying to making new friends. And so I was attempting to make friends. I joined this club, and kind of as soon as I went to the first state leadership conference, fell in love with it. Was absolutely obsessed with the state officers on stage, loved what they got to do, got to see what they got to run, started following all of them on Instagram, seeing all the fun things that they did, and kind of just fell in love with this idea of what it meant to be a state officer and getting those different opportunities. And so my sophomore year of high school, the end of my sophomore year, I decided to run for state office, and kind of just the context in which it happened and the other people I was running against, I was so certain that I was going to lose. But I didn't care because I wanted to do it for the opportunity, because the process of running at states itself was just so interesting. I'd get to meet new people, and I very much was just in this place at the end of my sophomore year, especially in my personal life, where I just wanted to meet new people and get to talk to new people. So I ran and then shockingly won. And so it was kind of this shocking, okay, I wasn't expecting to run, but kind of immediately it's like, okay, I'm the state president-elect now. I need to step up my game, and immediately got just so connected with all the state officers and the process of running. And I will very easily say, and I've heard this from a lot of other student leaders, even other CTS organizations, what you think being the student leader and being a state officer is entirely different than what it is. It is not as fun as all the pictures make it out to be, but it is so much. I've learned so much more than I ever thought I'd get the chance to. I've met so many more people than I ever thought I would. What I thought I'd get out of being a student leader when I wanted to be a state officer versus what I've actually gotten out of it are entirely different, but I would much rather what I have gotten out of it than what I wished that I had back when I wasn't a state officer yet. And so I think it's kind of those, I hear a lot, the negative sides of being a student leader, and I do my plenty share of complaining about student leadership and being a state officer. But at the same time, those are skills that no one else my age is getting from doing other things like that. Yes, you can be the president of a club at your school, but I'm getting to travel the country and put on conferences and write scripts and create skits and things that none of my friends or other students are getting the chance to do, that are putting me miles ahead for things that you're going to have to do in your real life. And so I just think, though those challenges are so difficult to deal with, no matter what they are, I think it's just so worth it.
Absolutely. Thank you. That was awesome, Karinne. And you think about that mindset of you know what, I'm just going to embrace the process. I loved that. I loved a lot of what you just said, but embracing the process, I'm going to run for this state officer position. And yeah, there's probably some really cool people that are also running and that kind of thing, but you know what, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to worry about what the result is. I'm just going to throw myself all into this and just embrace the process so that I can learn. Because along the way, and I know as looking at, people that run for state office, there's a lot that you can learn of okay, I have to create things for a campaign booth. I have to come up with some social media stuff. I have to give a speech. There's a bunch of things that you have to learn and be able to go through. And so embracing that process can be so awesome. And then student leadership, it is work. Leadership is work, right? And so there's all those things that we always see the glory, but few actually know the story of what it takes for conferences to happen, for great workshops to happen, for any of that. And so you're seeing that, you're in that, and there's some struggle. And now you're leading a new team, and especially through a time like this, leading a team through a year like this is not easy. How big is your officer team? How many officers are there?
So typically there are 8 officers, but this year we only have 7.
Okay. And so tell me about that. What's been different, or how have you tried to approach like leading your team through a year like this?
So I will say, of the many, many difficult things about this year, I think one of the things that's always been able to keep such a smile on my face and keep me so motivated is my state officer team. They're genuinely, like, I know a lot of state officers say that, but they are genuinely my best friends. And there's not a single one of them that I strongly dislike. And obviously we have disagreements. It's student leadership. You're working together. But I think part of what I kind of didn't expect with everything being virtual, and I kind of just thought like, oh, like I'm just not going to be this close with my council this year. It just is another reality I have to accept. I am so incredibly close with them. And I think part of it is their personalities, and just they have much more outgoing personalities than necessarily other students our age or other people that I've led with in the past. But I think part of it is because we're in this virtual platform, everyone kind of has this idea that bonding is going to be so much more difficult. And so I think for us, it kind of just was a little bit more forced, just in the sense that typically we only met for last year on our Zoom calls, we only met like once a month and talked for a few hours because we just didn't have as much stuff to do. But this year, I think with the so many things that we had going on at our state level, our state director suddenly leaving, us having to figure out how to do things virtually, finishing all of our state officer elections, doing inductions, all these things that we've never had to do in the past and how to figure out on the spot, I think gave us the opportunity to spend so much time together. And in hours and hours and hours of long Zoom calls, there's just only such a level of professionalism that you can hold for so long. And it kind of just gets to the point where your personality shows more and we got to know each other more. And so I think one of the things that I was incredibly blessed with as being a state president this year, I didn't have to worry about the bonding aspect of it. And when I was worrying about everything else that was going on, that was something that came more naturally and just made it so much easier to be able to work with all of them and say, okay, so here's a bunch of bad news that I have for you guys, but we're able to joke it off and come up with solutions and things like that. And that I genuinely think I don't know how I'd get through the state presidency without being as close with my officer team as I am.
That's awesome. And there's good pieces to that as you look to lead a team or be a member of a team. Investing time in the relationships early is so important, because then it helps you get through things like that, unplanned. Like, there's probably been a lot of things you've had to encounter that you didn't plan on, like that wasn't a part of the agenda, is like, and then we're going to go through that big problem. Like, that's not the case. But when you have a relationship to lean back on, you're able to get through those things a little bit better. And so that's awesome. And so clearly, the year of 2020 has not been one of free of challenge. And as you've already shared, there's been a few things that you have as a leader have had to go through, your team have had to encounter. So tell me a little bit more, what about your mindset has been able to help you get through that? Like, what do you have to keep telling yourself? What do you have to focus on so that you can still say, you know what, I know there's a problem, but we're going to keep going anyway. Like, how do you push through all of that?
Well, I mean, this year absolutely has been insane. I think kind of just to lay it all out there, we're not able to meet in person. My officer team will not meet in person until January. We don't know when we're going to be able to have any events, what districts are going to look like. We don't know how membership's going to be. Our state director suddenly left due to kind of medical issues and had to leave suddenly. So leaving our state association with really no one necessarily to run it. So all of that amongst with dealing with obviously social issues, your student leaders, so drama is ensuing constantly, and kind of dealing with all that at once is incredibly overwhelming. But I think kind of the message that my friends are continually telling me as I'm venting to them, or my parents are telling me, or other like mentors and things that I have in my life, is just that it's going to work out in the end, and the things that I'm going to get out of this year, me, myself, my officer team, all of the above, are going to get out of this year in the end are going to be so much better than the difficulties that it was. I'm always talking about like FCCLA gives you unique opportunities that a lot of other leadership organizations don't. This year, even though it sucks right now, is going to give all the people who went through it and were in these unique situations because of it such unique opportunities that other people aren't going to get down the line. And not that I really would ever wish for this to happen ever again, or wish for it to be happening. I think it's constantly having to look at the positive side, that yes, you're having to overcome these challenges, but it's giving you a unique skill set and unique problem solving abilities that I wouldn't get otherwise. And so I think that's one of the things that I'm constantly telling myself when new challenges are thrown in my way or things that are difficult coming up, is just that no matter what is kind of thrown at my way, it's going to give me opportunities that other people won't get in the future necessarily because of this situation.
Absolutely. Once again, you're embracing the process, right? And we talked about that as your state officer candidacy, but even now in the position, it's like, well, we can't control what's going to happen 8 months from now, 6 months from now, and even like next week, sometimes things could change. And so instead it's like, well, but what can we do? And let's maximize as much as we can with that, acknowledging, like you're saying, which I love. And that's the nature of this whole thing, is of the skills that you're learning now as a student leader to help, not only help do whatever it is you're trying to do right now for your members, but also to prepare you for whatever that next step is. And that's such a powerful mindset to acknowledge, like, okay, I'm going to maximize today, but I know that if I try to maximize today, I'm going to be a little bit better tomorrow. And if I keep doing that, by the time, the big opportunity to pursue my career comes around, I'm ready. And I'm going to be able to make it happen. And so that's awesome, and such a powerful mindset. And then when you think about, okay, mindset helps get you focused and keeps you motivated, but then you start putting into action. And so like, what would you say in terms of like your habits? Like, what habits have helped you be able to take care of everything so you can keep maximizing the opportunity you have as a state officer?
I think the biggest one for me, and obviously I go through like motions or like different time periods where like I'm not super motivated or different things like that, but I think the one habit that that made a huge difference in me kind of implementing it, and in a way being forced to implement it just because I can't take on everything at the same time, but that has hugely helped just everything with student leadership all around, is my ability to delegate, or just the general ability to delegate. And I mean, that's the purpose that you have an officer team of 7 people, or whenever you're working with a team of people or other individuals around you. And I think for me, I don't want to say badly in this way, but I do like getting things done myself and having that not necessarily controlling aspect, but being able to sometimes, for me, instead of explaining to people how to do it and then them doing it and then offering corrections, it's just easier for me to do it. But that's not the point of what this is. And I think for multiple, both making it easier on myself to get more things done and make our state association successful, where at the same time we're FCCLA, the people who are in student leadership abilities and offices, yes, are supposed to serve our state association, but they're also getting things out of it. And if I'm not delegating responsibilities and including them in the things that we're doing and including them in decisions, they're not getting the same things out of it that I am and the same skills that I am. And that's not worth it for them to be a state officer, for them to sit there and watch me do everything. And so I think from all sides, delegation is just one of the most important things as a student leader to keep in mind for just the better of everyone.
Awesome. That's a great one. And just that habit, which I look at that as a habit, not just a skill, but something you should do regularly, right? Of just including people, delegating, including people in the process, in the plan, in whatever the project is. And that's leadership. Like, it's one thing to just like, oh, I'm going to do a whole lot of things. And like, okay, cool. You can be a great state president doing that and like get a bunch of stuff done. Cool. But if you want to cross that bridge to be a leader, you start including people like you just said that you are. And you start saying, not only are you just going to do everything, but you're going to help other people be able to grow too. And that's leadership. And so to anyone out there listening, like if you find yourself in a leadership position and an opportunity to delegate and that kind of thing, take advantage of it, because that's part of the point. Just like you said, that's the point. That's why they are there. That's why they're showing up, is to help. So don't do it all yourself. So I love how you said that. When you think about as being a student leader, like why, and I know we've talked a lot about this, but specifically have this moment of like, why should students consider more getting into student leadership positions, whether that's FCCLA or other pieces, other things that they could get involved with, but why would you tell a student, just some friend, why they should get involved as a student leader?
I think I would have had an entirely different answer before I got into student leadership, but I think being a student leader and kind of seeing what opportunities it's given me, I think there's the very obvious downside that I can always tell people, like, it's a ton of work. Like, people who aren't in student leadership positions just don't have as much work to do. They're just living more social lives. And so I think there's always that downside of it. But I think for me and for any other student leader I've talked to, the opportunities that it gives you, whether it's putting you ahead on your college resume or being able to navigate time management better, I just think the ability to be a student leader and be a successful student leader, and the things that you can read a book and learn all these skills that you need to handle the real world and be a leader, but until you're actually in it and doing it, you're not going to pick up on those skills. And so I think the opportunity to do that as a student presents its own unique set of challenges. But I think at the same time, for me, I just feel so much more prepared going to college and living on my own and going beyond that and getting a job, knowing that I've handled a lot of the challenges that like adults in the real world now are facing for the first time, that I've gotten a sneak peek of that beforehand. And again, kind of the giving you unique opportunities that other students our age aren't getting. I think it just sets me and any other student leader just so much farther ahead in the skill sets and experiences that you are going to get, both positive and negative, but ones that you need regardless of what they are before heading into the real world and taking those when you're forced to rather than when you make the choice to as a student leader.
That's awesome. I love that. Take action, put yourself out there, be involved. It's great to read, and I'm a big fan of that. I got a lot of books behind me. Read, watch blogs, listen to podcast or read blogs, listen to podcasts, all that kind of stuff. Learn, but then put it to action and go and try. And that's what's really going to help you prepare. That's really going to help you learn and get to that next level. So I think that's super well said. All of you should take action in some way. All of you out there, join that club, look for leadership positions, look for student leadership organizations you can be a part of, and take action. I love that. I love how you said that. Well, that's awesome, Karinne. And you think of one of the things that I always love doing with all of the people I get to interview is go through and have them give some advice to a student with what I call the Nix It notes. So quick refresher for everyone. I have these postcards that I take around with me whenever I talk to groups about how to nix their limits. I give them a postcard and I say, all right, let's identify what's holding you back. Write it on this postcard, leave it with me, and then when you go through those doors, you are leaving that limit behind. And then I keep them. I've got them all there anonymous, but they're all hanging on my board here in my office. And so I pulled one off randomly, and I'm going to have Karinne give some advice. Are you ready for this? Are you up for this?
I think I'm ready, yes.
All right, so she didn't know she's going to do this until today, so let's see what you got. So this limit, from some student out there that's trying to nix this limit, let's see what advice you can have for them. They said, never thinking I'm good enough. All right, some student is saying, man, I got to nix this limit of never thinking I'm good enough. What advice do you have for a student like that?
Oh, this one is such a good one. I feel like I definitely struggle with this constantly. I know a ton of student leaders everywhere struggle with this one. I think especially for me, I'm very much the person, probably I think a lot of people who think this are very much the type of person who needs, or not necessarily needs, but very much helps them to hear that, hey, you're doing a good job, or hey, you are good enough, or you're doing this really well, or something like that. And I think, especially in the position that I am, and a lot of student leaders, I think, again, kind of what we talked about, no one really realizes the insane amount of work that you put into being a student leader. And so I think for me, one of the things that I've had to learn is that I can't get my personal feeling of feeling like I'm worth it and that I'm good enough from other people, because they're just not going to get what's going on internally, whether it has to do with the leadership world or myself. They're not going to get what's going on in my head and the things that I have to do and the things that I'm always struggling with, because they're not me. They're not living my life. They're not with me 24/7. And so I think one of the things for me that kind of helped me honestly just be able to cope with not having to constantly tell myself that I'm not good enough is not finding that sense of self-worth from other people, because I'm never going to get what I personally need and what I need to be told that I'm worthy of from other people, because they're just not going to get it. And so I think the biggest thing to continue to tell yourself with is you're going to need discipline to do so, but just continually telling yourself that whenever you do something, rewarding yourself with it and telling yourself that no matter what anyone else thinks or what they don't necessarily tell you their thoughts on, is that you are doing a great job and you're doing the best you can in the circumstances that you're in. And I think it's this fine line between making excuses for yourself and then telling yourself that you actually are worthy and doing a good job. But I think if you can find that fine line and not get into just you making excuses for yourself, it's what I think in a way, either on a personal level or student leadership, you kind of are forced to do. At least from my personal experience of definitely struggling with that problem as well.
And that's awesome. Super well said. Super well said. If you think about, we've actually been talking about this a little bit, just that embrace the process. Like today, you're just trying to be a little bit better, and you can't control the outcome, and you can't always control how people are going to perceive you and what they might label you, but you can do that for yourself and acknowledge, you know what, I'm trying, and I'm going to keep trying, and being able to do that. So for all of you out there, that might have been a limit, something that you feel like is holding you back, or if you might have something else, but hey, think about this. If a student like you could nix a limit like that, just imagine what you can do. And so Karinne, this has been an awesome conversation. I loved hearing a little bit about your journey and your leadership growth and that kind of thing. And so, and just one last encouragement, like what encouragement can you offer for students to get out there and nix their limits, be their best, embrace the process, and to just keep being awesome? What could you say to them?
I would say, I mean, this is kind of just the like stereotypical way. I would say just do it. I think one of the things that held me back for so long is being afraid of like what other people would say about me and me not being good enough to do it. But you're all, no matter your age, experience, whatever, you're all learning along with the process. So just do it. Just accept you're going to get some sort of result, whether it's positive or negative. You're going to learn from it. And so I think just go do it. Whatever student leadership opportunity or general opportunity you want to do, just go for it. And the worst you can do is fail and learn from it. And that's not even that bad. So I say just do it.
Love it. Totally agree. Couldn't agree more. Get out there and do it. Embrace the process. And thank you so much for joining me today. But everybody out there, get out there and nix your limits. All right, leaders, did I tell you that there was a lot of good stuff coming from that episode? I hope that you all do lean in and embrace the process of whatever it is that you're going through right now. 2020, embrace the process. Obviously, if there are some serious things that you and your family have, or loved ones and close to you have been impacted with, we got to make sure we take care of that. My heart goes out to you. But if you are able to still, go through your day, attending school, being involved in different things like that, embrace the process, maximize it as much as you can, take action. And as Karinne said, just do it. Just go take action and maximize today, because you might not be able to control what things look like a month from now, a few months from now, but you can control how much work you put into today. And so go take action on that. Please stay connected with Karinne. You can be able to find her Instagram page and reach out to her, let her know that you loved the episode. But obviously you want to stay connected here with @Student Leadership Podcast on Instagram. Reach out to me @NIXYOURLIMITS on Instagram, and let's keep the conversation going. So get out there, nix your limits, and have a good one. I'll see you next time on the Student Leadership Podcast.